This morning, I'm up here with Jacob Jabber from Philz Coffee. I'm Sarah McBride, a reporter at Bloomberg, and it's great to see you all. So, cheers, Jacob.
Cheers.
Our carefully branded Philz Coffee.
Yeah, I see some other branded cups. I think it's the hotels, and I'm sorry. You should go to the Philz booth after this and have a cup of Philz.
So I thought we'd kick things off with talking a little bit about Philz. Could you just give everybody an overview where you were a couple of years ago, how many stores you have now, that kind of thing for people who don't know the brand?
Sure. So we started in San Francisco in the Mission District, and my dad is Phil, and he wanted to do something much more meaningful than run a grocery store, which is what he was doing. He grew up in the Middle East and moved to the States when he was about 15 and worked a lot and eventually saved up enough money to open a grocery store. And he decided to he wanted to do something more fulfilling. And he loved coffee, he loved people, he loved community. And his philosophy is that the best cup of coffee is the one that comes to your taste. So at our stores, our experience and concept is really about personalization and community and people. So he decided to share his experimentations with his grocery store customers, and they loved it. And slowly, the grocery store transitioned into a coffee shop. And I've been helping him since I was 10 years old, standing on top of milk crates, ringing people up at the register. And I've been helping him since day one, and we've worked together and had some good times and hard times. Working with the family is not always easy, but you know, now we have almost 40 stores. We're in multiple cities, and we're still doing a good job. And we really want to share Philz with more people around the world. So.
But a lot of those 40 stores are very recently, right? Can you talk about the sudden growth trajectory you've been on?
In 2013, we raised our first round of financing in 2013, and we only had about 10 stores at that time.
Okay, and step back and tell us, how did that happen? Like, how did you go from kind of, okay, my perception is just sort of ambling along with the coffee stores that everyone loved in San Francisco to all of a sudden you've met VCs and taken their money and boom. Like, how did that happen?
Well,
because were you in that world at all, or?
No, all of our customers, we were born out of Silicon Valley, so we had the luxury of a lot of the customers that came in were these people who were addicted to our coffee, and that's kind of how we've networked and built those relationships. But I'm very competitive, and I can't sit still, and I believe in doing something meaningful, and I didn't want to just run a store or a few stores. I wanted to do something that was in line with the values and tradition and kind of carry it forward. So as we opened a few stores, we've gained confidence in what we were doing, which increased our level of ambition to want to grow. And the first round, it was a process. You know, a few years before, it was very organic. We were just talking to people, and we said, no, we're never going to raise money. We're not going to get involved in the venture community. So VCs approached you. Yeah. That's right.
Were they your customers?
A few of them.
Okay.
Yep. And then so one of our customers was Naval Ravikant of AngelList, and he became a friend, and he actually helped me with the first round because we wanted to institute a process to find the right partner so that we can go to the next step and open in new cities. And he helped me because I knew nothing about it. So it was organic, but I had the right people helping. And then the second round I kind of did on my own, and then this most recent round with the help of the board.
Okay. Yeah. So who are your venture partners? Who were the first couple of firms to come in?
So Summit Partners did our first round.
Okay.
Greg Goldfarb is the partner there, and they did our second round, and then our third round was led by TPG.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And so just to put it in context, Blue Bottles raised as well from venture.
Yeah.
So did you raise before they did or after they did? Who raised a round first?
You know, I'm not sure. Maybe they have.
Okay.
They did a seed round. We didn't do a seed round.
Okay.
We went straight to an A round. So I think we did an A round before their A round, but I'm not sure. I don't really know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, it just seems like Coffee all of a sudden is a category. Bulletproof coffee has also.
Well, coffee is in the U.S., I mean, it's almost $50 billion. It's a really big industry, and coffee is a wonderful everyday luxury, and it's good for you too. There's actually a lot of benefits and antioxidants in coffee, and I think that there's an opportunity to do something better. And what you're seeing in the industry is, the Starbucks, the Coffee Bean, and Tea Leaf, and the Peet's Coffee are kind of in this category. They term the second wave, and now what's been arising is the artisanal, handcrafted approach where quality is at the forefront of everything done. And the problem with that is that it lacks accessibility in terms of just being nice to people, having good service, educating people, not stuffing an expensive bean down someone's throat. So Philz doesn't really place itself in any one of those categories. We really look at what we're doing as serving our customers best. So we don't even have lattes in our store.
Right.
So we're highly differentiated on many fronts, which can cause a lot of people who are, if you ever walked into a coffee shop and then you walked into a Philz, you're like, what the hell's going on? But that's okay. Anything new that happens, right? And what matters is that we have really great people who we take a lot of great care in hiring. And I'm not overstating this, we hire as seriously a barista as Google would hire an engineer. We take so much time to make sure we hire the right people. And we look for character before competence and experience, the right person first. So it's when you walk in, you see a bar of people, and you see a big menu board, and you don't know what that menu board consists of, because they're all secret recipe blends that my dad created over a few decades. And what's special about the blends is there's multiple beans in each blend, and it's about celebrating different cultures and farms from around the world. And the sum of all of the beans in the blend taste a lot better than each of its parts. And then every cup is ground fresh on the spot by a person, and then they put it inside of a filter and they pour hot water over it, and there's no condiment stand. We do it all for you. So when we hand you the cup, we ask you to take a sip to make sure it's perfect, and it'll be the best damn coffee you've ever had, and if it's not, we'll do it again. We'll keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually love Philz, and some of my friends have problems and say, oh, it's really pretentious. They don't even let you put in your own sugar.
They say that about Philz?
Yeah, but it's just funny because Philz is so not pretentious, but there are elements of that. Just the
it's hospitality to us.
It is.
We grew up in the Middle East, not me, my parents did, and culture, celebrating your neighbors, sitting around the table. The coffee table is the original social network. And I think people are very disconnected from the world and other people these days with the rise of technology. So I think more than ever, where we fit in the world is celebrating the progress we're making with technology, but not forgetting to raise your head up and look at a neighbor and say hi. So our culture is trying to promote that within our stores, and that's why we don't look at our employees as employees, but a community of people who believe in these values, and it's wonderful because coffee is a medium that you get to engage with every day. So we see a lot of the same customers every day, and if we can make a difference in that moment, it makes a difference.
Is it true that some of the blends have extraordinarily high levels of caffeine?
Caffeine, it's not about the blends. I mean, lighter roast, you might not know this, but lighter roast actually have more caffeine than darker roast, which is interesting. Darker roast will taste stronger, but in terms of caffeine, lighter roast has more caffeine. And it depends how much beans you put in a cup. But 1 cup of Philz, it's not like a latte where it's this much espresso and it's all milk. Starbucks sells the most milk. We sell coffee, and our coffee is like this, and if you want milk or cream or sugar, it's just a little bit, and it's a real cup of coffee, and 1 cup is equivalent to 4 or 5 shots, so you get a real good value, and you feel great for the day.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I was wondering, you were talking about how none of your individual stores see a P&L, so they have no idea how they're doing. That seems like such an unusual strategy. Can you talk a little bit more about how you got the idea for that and why you did that?
Well, I think in the industry, Starbucks is really great at operations. The new wave, the artisanal approach, their core competency is coffee, and Phil's core competency is people. So it's very different, and we believe that there's a lot of irrelevant crap to give to a store manager in the form of a P&L. So what we do is we have this sequential metrics that are qualitative and quantitative that help the store leader see the actions and behaviors, how they relate to the output. So for an example, hiring, right? Doing that well makes a good contribution. Training, doing that well makes a good contribution. Operations, leadership, and then we show the output of all of those things. But we put a lot of stress on focusing on the inputs, the customer experience, service. It's much more inspirational to talk about let's go do a great job with that customer versus let's go hit a sales target. So we're very careful about terminology and what we show to people.
And has it been like that since the beginning, or is this a new?
No, it was inconsistent in the early days. We weren't sure, right? We weren't sure, but over time you've kind of learned and you gain confidence in your instincts, and you have the courage to do stuff, and you just do it. So that's how it happened with us. It was we showed some store managers a P&L, and then we showed others nothing, and now it's consistent where we just have and we actually aggregate all customer feedback. We get hundreds a day throughout all of our stores. I look at every single one of them. Our whole executive team looks at every single one of them, and I'll call customers if I have a question. The store leaders will do the same, and all of this feedback is used to help us get better, and we really empower and decentralize as much as we can so that we can act quickly, and the store leader really has ownership over their store.
Where's your expansion push now? What part of the country are you focusing on?
So most of our stores are in the Bay Area, because that's where we grew up. And LA, we have almost 10 stores.
Right.
We're also in San Diego. We opened our first store recently, and it's doing great. It's in Encinitas. We have a store in Huntington Beach. We have a store in stores in Washington, D.C.
Right.
And that's doing great. Hopefully we can help influence the culture there for the better. I think it's needed more than ever. But Boston and New York will hopefully be on our next.
Could you ever see an international expansion?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's one store at a time, though. We want to do a great job.
Okay.
Yeah, one store at a time.
Does anyone in the audience have a question for Jacob? All right, well, you're thinking of any questions. I
think she has one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Do you think that there's sort of a top dollar that a customer will pay for? I know you guys don't do lattes, and I bring this up because I live in LA and I'm a frequent visitor to Groundworks, which is here in Santa Monica, which I'm sure you're really familiar with. And it's like a $6 almond latte there. And granted, it's excellent because they make their own almond milk. They press their own almond milk there, so it really does taste very different. It's a place in Beverly Hills, I think it's an Israeli place, who they ground their own beans. Aharon, who you may be familiar with. It's like a $7.50 almond latte.
Yeah.
So at what price point do you think this is just getting silly?
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at this. I think there is a price-sensitive customer, right? Maybe you're less price-sensitive and you're willing to pay that, but there's not a lot of people that are willing to. But let's just have some perspective here. If you go through the Bay Bridge in the Bay Area, the bridge toll is $6. What the hell? A bridge toll is $6, so how much is happiness worth to you? If you take, coffee is a moment out of your day where you should enjoy it. Everybody deserves time to be present, to be mindful, and enjoy the hell out of their coffee and not treat it as just something they rush through. So if you look at it from that perspective, $6 for something that you're going to love is fine. It's all about value. That's what it really is about. We're not cheap when you compare it to traditional drip coffee. A small is $3.50 and a large is $4.50. I think it's an amazing value. And I think a lot of our customers do, but it's all about how you look at it. But in realistic terms, there is a lot of price-sensitive people. I think 5 starts to become the number that will probably deter a lot of people from coming in very frequently. Four is pretty high, but again, it's all about how you look at it.
Although in Santa Monica, brown first,
Yeah.
always packed.
But let me make this one thing clear. If you get like a double latte with fancy crap inside of it at a place, it could be $4, $5, $6. A cup of Philz, like I said, the amount of beans we're putting into one cup is a lot, equivalent to 4 or 5 shots, and it's all handmade. So $3.50 versus that latte full of milk, that's a lot of that's, you know, there's value in that. But again, there's an education process, and we can't be arrogant about it.
We had another question back there.
You said that you're very careful about whom you hire as tourists.
Yeah,
Can you walk us through what you look for?
I'd love to. I'll withhold the secrets though. But so there's 3 things. There's character, competence, and experience. For a barista, we care most about the character. I don't really care if someone has experience with coffee. As a matter of fact, over 75% of our employees, we have about 1,000 company-wide, have not done coffee before, and it's worked out really good. So,
How do you look for it? Because
well, it starts with what our intentions are and the experience that we want to create and our culture. So we have a list of core values, and we looked at those core values and we tried to translate those core values into core characteristics that are measurable through a conversation. So we've identified a list of 5 core characteristics. You know, one of them is driven to contribute and improve yourself. And throughout the interview, we'll really try to we'll ask questions that help us assess if they can do that really well. But it's a 2-step process. So we're decentralized for the most part, but recruiting has a centralized function. So it's like a university where you go into Harvard or Stanford or any of these great schools, and you'll have to go interview, right? And then they're filtered out for all of the stores, and the stores are always going to interview someone well. It's expensive. It costs us thousands of dollars for one person to hire and train one person. It's not cheap, but in my view, it's the right investment because you can retain them longer, and it's just a better quality people.
And over
Yeah.
there,
first of all, I had a little feedback, which is I was expecting coffee when I came here.
I don't see a Philz cup. Is that a Philz?
No, it's a regular.
I'm sorry. We got to change that.
You're right, really. But I have a question about your recruiting. What is your turnover in the early months after you recruit? Do you feel like you retain people because of this extensive recruiting process? And secondly, relating to like Starbucks and others that help people with college, provide part-time
Yeah.
insurance, what kind of employee benefits
Yeah.
are you offering beyond the baseline?
So that's a great question. Our retention is 50% more or less. So I wouldn't say it's great. In retail terms, it's good. And a place like Starbucks does a good job for their employees. There's no doubt about that. But what we found is that over 40% of the reason people leave Philz, probably other retail companies, is not because they necessarily dislike it, but it's because they are no longer able to commit to the schedule that they were able to when they got hired, because the demographic, the workforce demographic, is in transitional state. They're trying to figure out what they want to do. They're going to school. They're freelancing. So what we're doing at Philz internally is working on something really special and innovative for retail, which is how do we balance, because there's an inherent challenge with meeting business demand while also giving the freedom and flexibility and ownership of the schedule on the team member, so that they can create it for their life. And so there's a balance of meeting business demand and meeting the team satisfaction there, but we're trying to work out that challenge, and if we can, I think that it will help retention in a big way. But scheduling is just as important as pay.
If you were at Moneyball last night, you saw a scheduling thing.
Say that again?
At Moneyball, at the presentation you made last night, there was a guy that was presenting a
Oh, I wasn't here, but yeah, I mean, I think scheduling is the right thing, because think about the pay, right? I mean, I believe in, you need to get, I believe in paying people in a way that makes them feel valued, but pay is just one factor. And oftentimes, an extra 25 cents is more important from a communication and a value set perspective than it is an actual, like, it's going to make a big difference in my life. So we want to, Philz University is another tactic to help retain people, but more importantly, to add value to the people's lives. So we're building Philz University, which has a buffet of learning experiences, both personally and professionally for people, and democratize and free learning for everybody. That's our vision, and that's what we're working on. And I think that's going to help people grow within Philz and build a career. A lot of our store leaders were baristas, and the team member satisfaction has gone way high after going through these classes. So it's all about how you look at your employees. What are they to you, right? And to us, they're a community of people that we care deeply about, and we want to help them. And I think you got to invest in people personally these days, especially our workforce demographic, and not just look at them as a number.
Maybe Travis Kalanick should call you, right?
I don't know.
All
He has
right,
his own
thank
challenges,
you, Jacob.
yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. And one more thing, there are over 4 million ways to enjoy your Philz. We calculated this. I drink the Tesoro with honey and cream. Highly recommend it. Thank you.
Thank you.